A very warm welcome to the ODPP Café. My name is Anita Onuko. I'm your host. The ODPP Café is brought to you by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. We are live on Facebook at the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. We are also on YouTube at the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution and on Twitter at ODPP_KE. I welcome you to follow us on our social media channels. You can subscribe on our YouTube channel. You can follow us on Facebook and tell a friend to follow us. We have this show so that we can teach you about the criminal justice system. We are here to empower you. We are here to educate you and to inform you about what goes on in the criminal justice system. We invite you to engage with us in the comment section. You can send us a message if you think what you want to tell us is private, and definitely we'll get back to you. Thank you so much once again for joining us today. And I shall introduce you to the guests that we have on the show today as we go along. As always, I'm going to start with the courts and just a highlight of what has been happening at the courts. And the disclaimer is always it's not exhaustive. It's just a few of the highlights from the courts. So I'll take you right on to it. And the first case we have today is about a Vietnamese who was charged with stealing 6.5 million shillings. The prosecution submitted that on January 11th, she induced Galaxy Casino in Kilimani to pay her a greater sum of money for tricks and devices. The case will be mentioned on 14th March for pre-trial. So this is a Vietnamese national who was arrested for stealing 6.5 million. So she swindled a city casino and was charged. The charge actually is fraud. Her name is Nguyen Thi Hoa. She was charged before Kibera Senior Principal Magistrate William Tulei, and she denied the charges. So we'll follow through with this case and tell you how it goes on. The next case is about the Nys Graft Scandal. The Anti-Corruption Court directed that Ann Girita to be placed in custody until she can find another surety to stand for her in the 468 million Nys Graft case. Magistrate Eunice Kagure made the order after Stephen, who had given out his property to stand as surety, chose to withdraw the same. Remember, Ann Girita has recently announced that she wants to stand for some elective position. And then I think she lost the grace she had with the person who stood in for her for surety. So Girita former Permanent Secretary Lilian Omolo, former NYS Director Richard Ndubi are among the 47 that were charged in the NYS scandal. So somebody else has to stand in for her for this, for her to get surety. The next case is about Kelvin Omwenga, the murder trial. A witness narrated in court how businessman Kevin Omwenga died after partying his house in Kilimani, Nairobi. So John Mwangi recalled the last moments with Omwenga. He said that on August 20th, 2020, the deceased had hosted a party and invited friends for drinks and dinner. And I think this is the same night that he was killed. So this case is ongoing in Kilimani, and we'll just get to know what goes on in it. So the witness says that at around 11 p.m., Omwenga's bodyguard, Robert Bodo, wanted to leave for the day. Kevin and Bodo moved to the bedroom, and after a short while, he had a loud bang. In the case, Mr. Bodo is charged alongside businessman Chris Obure with misusing a firearm. The two also faced charges that they killed Omwenga. The hearing was adjourned until June 13th. So that is ongoing. The next one is about a boda rider who pleaded guilty to stealing his employer's motorcycle and retreated to his rural home with it. He was fined 50,000. The prosecution submitted that Mosimi was employed as a rider by Miss Juliet Ochieng, who gave him the bike in 2019 to operate in South Sea while remitting cash daily. But looks like he decided otherwise and stole the bike and went back home with it, and he was caught and charged with theft. So I think this case has been concluded. In August last year, this happened in August last year, he stopped remitting the cash, switched off his phone, and moved to his rural home in Muitika, Kitui County with the bike before he was traced and arrested and the bike recovered. In default of the 50,000 fine, Mosimi will serve a 1-year prison term. So that's in as far as the courts are concerned, the highlights from our courts. Like we say in the show, it's not everything, just a few of the cases that we thought we should highlight for you on the show. So moving on, this week, rather on 20th of February, the world marked a UN day called the World Social Justice Week. It was marked on Sunday, 20th of February this year, with the theme that achieving social justice through formal employment. So that was the theme. So the rationale is that the lack of employment lowers the opportunity cost of committing crime, which consequently motivates individuals, especially the youth, to engage in criminal activities. So on the show today, we are going to talk about social justice. We're going to talk about a concept called community prosecution. And I have two ladies on the show, two experts on the show, who are going to help me unpack this topic, social justice and community prosecution. We are discussing community prosecution in the context of World Social Justice Day. And we want to see what the ODPP does, as well as our guest. I'll wait for her to introduce herself so she tells us which organization she comes from. So let's just get on to it. I will start with Gertrude. Karibu sana Gertrude to the show. It's the first time on the show.
Yes. Thank you very much, Anita. Yes, my name is Gertrude Kiilu. I am a prosecutor. I'm a prosecuting counsel in the Children Division. I prosecute in the Children's Court, and I'm also a member of the anti-FGM unit. I'm delighted to be here today.
We're happy to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Like I told you, start one show, then we'll start. You'll be calling to come to the show again, but we're glad to have you on the show. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Anita.
Yes. Rosette?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Anita. My name is Rosette Ocho. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I work at Haki Africa as the legal officer. And I know we've interacted with the office of the DPP for such a long time.
Yes.
And I'm happy to be here today.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're on the show, Rosette.
Thank you.
And maybe then we have seen Haki a lot on TV and in the media generally. Yeah. And just for the person who's never interacted with Haki, I'd like you to tell us a bit about what Haki does.
Okay, so Haki Africa is actually a non-governmental organization. We were established in 2012, and since 2012, all we have been doing, we started our offices in Mombasa, so our headquarters are in Mombasa, and we've been advocating for human rights in different spheres. So just advocating for human rights, taking a few cases to court here and there, giving legal advice to members of the community, and just advocating for peace in the community. So right now we actually have an office in Nairobi, and we have also been working with social justice centers at the coastal region, and right now we're trying to move to the Kenyan, yes, Bara, if I may say Bara. Yeah. So yes, so we have a Nairobi office. So yeah, we're hopeful. We're looking forward to working with the ODPP here in Nairobi, because we've really interacted with you people in the coastal region.
Yes. How has that been? So to what extent do you work with the ODPP? Because from a common Wananchi perspective, I don't know that I'm a common Wananchi because I'm not a lawyer, but anyway, from just a common perspective, I would imagine, and we grew up seeing the civil society on one side and the government on one side. But now increasingly we are seeing Haki organizations like Haki and ODPP interacting more. Yeah. So how has that been at the coast? What exactly do you do together?
Actually, for Haki and the office of the DPP, I believe we started our interactions in 2019 when we actually came to the realization that you cannot work alone. You cannot work alone. And our end goal is achieving justice for the common Mwananchi. And what Haki Africa does, what the ODPP does, and even other justice actors, what they actually do is just attaining justice for this common Mwananchi. So why not put our heads together and attain this goal? So that is when we decided that it was very important for organizations like Haki to work with your organization just to help the common Mwananchi. And we took this angle of the office of the DPP is actually, I might say, very authoritative when it comes to dealing with other justice sectors. So we took the angle of working with the ODPP just to also reach out to other justice sectors, that's the judiciary, probation, the police, and whatnot. So you act as the link to these other justice actors, and we act as the link to the community, just to bridge this gap that is known to be there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So Gertrude, in whose hands are we safe? Is working with the government. Is it good for me?
Absolutely.
What is it like? How?
As she has rightly put it, we cannot work in silence. We cannot say, I'm a prosecutor, so all I'm going to do is to prosecute.
I cannot ignore what she's telling me. I cannot ignore what the probation officer is telling me. I cannot ignore what the children's officer is telling me. And why we have to work together is so that you are safe in our hands.
Yeah.
Yes. If indeed we worked in silos and in ignorance of the mandates of other organizations and the value they bring on board, we would not be safe. Because why do I say that? As a prosecutor, if I ignored what probation is saying, probation is government, yes, or if I ignored what the advocate watching brief for my victim comes to tell me, will I discharge my mandate? Will I be fulfilling the vision of the office? I will not. So we need to work together for the benefit of society in general. And you'll notice that I've talked about the mandate.
Yeah.
Yes, our mandate is prosecution,
Yes.
but it is not prosecution in absence of all the other circumstances. And later on, maybe we'll be talking about the role probation plays, the role children officers play, and then we bring in this context of community prosecution. It's a very new term.
It is.
It's actually a shocking term.
It is. It makes you think. It's disruptive.
Yes, it makes me think, what, as a member of the community, ni haki yangu, to go and decide your fate. I am your prosecutor, I am your investigator, I am your judge. That is not what community prosecution is.
No.
Community prosecution is not mob justice. It is not you to decide. Community prosecution is not
An alternative.
Yes. It is not an informal justice sector. What it is can
I
we
feel like
work?
giving you a microphone, you shout louder. Because when we posted when I started posting on social media about community prosecution, for me it was also quite disruptive.
Yes.
Then I found it was equally disruptive even to the people who are reading our tweets and our post on Facebook.
Yes.
And I like that you brought out the fact about what it is not.
Yes.
It is not alternatives to justice.
Yes,
It is not mob justice.
It is not.
Yeah.
When we say community prosecution, we are not telling people, go ye and decide the fate of criminals within your neighborhood or your village. That is disruption. When we talk about it, maybe we could link it with community policing. We don't tell you to go and be police officers.
No.
We don't tell you now go and arm yourselves and, we don't tell you that security begins with you, so, go and arm yourself. Not in that context. In the context that we need to work with the people we live with, because we live in communities. We as prosecutors, as Haki, even we live in a community. So we need the community involved in assisting to see where crime comes in, why is it there, how do we address it?
Why.
Yes, the why. That is where community prosecution comes in. And as I was saying, it is not things like maslaha, where the rights of one person will be considered and the rights of the victim or the rights of the offended party are not going to be considered. Is that justice? Yes. So community policing aims to bring about justice for everybody, both for the offender and the offended. Yes. And even as what my colleague here has been saying, what happens to the people who are going to be given legal advice? And it is not only for the victims. Even an accused person deserves legal advice. So for them to understand that yes, haki inatendeka, na inatendeka kwa usawa, kwa sababu nimekosa. You had to put the clarion call. I had to do that. I mean, that is it is our chorus. Yes. Haki lazima itendeke. Mashtaka yenye haki na usawa. Na usawa, ndio mshtakiwa akubali kwamba ndio ameshtakiwa. Na ni sawa kwamba ameshtakiwa kwa sababu amefanya makosa. Na usawa lazima ulete kurekebisha makosa ambayo amefanya. Yani wewe ni Mswahili tuseme. Tunajaribu tuko bara. Tuko bara. So it's very important when we talk about the criminal justice, the will, the process. Yes. We really put the community on the wheel. We sort of just start with the investigation, prosecution, adjudication and the prison. But now for community prosecution, you're saying, what is the role of the community in administration of justice, enhancing justice, and just generally keeping the society safe? Yes. Does that dilute your role as a prosecutor? In fact, it enhances my role as a prosecutor. And I love the question, what is the role of the community? First of all, when it comes to prosecution, we have cases where witnesses shy off. And they're like, sitaki kujihusisha na hayo mambo mimi, or I don't have the time to go to court, or I don't have the time to go and wait. But Your role as a member of the community, first of all, if there's a crime, come and testify, because it is you who's going to assist the prosecutor, bring out the crime that was actually committed. Remember, there's a victim at the end of the day. There's a victim of crime. In the alternative, for the victim, if you're a caregiver to this victim or you interact with this victim, and then, for example, if you're a teacher and the victim is a child, how can you participate to ensure that justice has actually been done to this child? As a teacher, you can give your assessment of the child. Because of the crime committed against this child, what impact has it had? So on both sides, we do expect the community to participate and to tell us, yes, this crime brought this and this and this harm. Or since this person committed the crime and we have seen that they are sorry for their mistake. We have seen that they have wanted to make amends. In fact, they have approached us and offered to do A, B, C, D, to say sorry. So my role as a prosecutor is to facilitate members of the community to bring out this evidence before a court of law. Yes.
So increasingly, you're moving from retribution to restorative justice. And I'm wondering, are we seeing it in Kenya now? Are we there? Or is it still a process?
It is working process. It is there. And maybe I need to mention that prosecution is not about punishment.
But that's what we see.
Yes, it is not.
Yeah, when you look at a prosecutor, and your what is it called? The profile of a prosecutor, even to me at this age, is a person who is out to get a conviction now, Yes. And so maybe finally you can tell us, is conviction the ultimate for a prosecutor? And look at it in the context of the youth.
Okay.
Or a child.
I would like to liken that to how we view police officers.
Yes.
Even when you're driving and you see a police officer lift his or her hand like this, what happens to all of us? We shake, we panic. We're like,
start saying sorry for whatever, for nothing.
Yeah. We're like, what have I done now?
I just want a lift.
Yes. Or even they're even telling you, zima mataa zimewaka, or they're even telling you there's a pothole there. But this is not the narrative we get. As long as we see a police officer, the next thing we see is handcuffs, prison cell, embarrassment, or something like that. Yeah. That is the automatic. And which is also what people think of when they see prosecutors, that wewe ni kutufunga.
Umefika kutafuta conviction.
In fact, every time, this is a bit personal, every time I mention that I prosecute in the children's court, usually the men would be like, nyinyi kazi yenu ni kutufinya. Like it automatically goes that we are there to oppress them, or we are there to work against them. But that is not essentially what prosecution is about. Kumbuka ni mashtaka yenye haki na usawa. Like that has really been ingrained in us. Because my role as a prosecutor, while it is to show that yes, you've committed wrong, it is also to take care of the victim. How do we compensate this victim of crime? If as an accused person, let's take an assault case for example, umenichapa mabari, and I am injured, my reputation, I'm humiliated, I feel sad. And yes, while I'll be happy that you're prosecuted, what do I really, really want? I want you to apologize to me. I want you to restore my dignity. So as a prosecutor, if the complainant comes and tells me, I want this person to say sorry to me in A, B, C, D. If it happened here in the office, maybe. Okay, not here. We don't fight. We don't fight. If it happens in public, I want a public apology. Is that going to restore me? Yes. So as a prosecutor, how will I do? What will I do rather? I will approach the accused person. I will let them know that the victim would like A, B, C, D. Can you agree? Umefanya makosa. Can we have a plea bargaining agreement?
Just hold the thought for plea bargaining. We'll talk about it in a bit.
Okay.
Yes.
So, can we agree that you restore this person to how they were? Apologize. Or if it is treatment that I need for a year, are you willing to cater for that treatment? So it is not only about punishment. We are not a conveyor belt to prison. That is not why we have the ODPP. We are here to ensure that justice is not only seen, but is actually done for both parties. For the offender to recognize they have offended, and for the victim to have a way of reparation. Yes.
Quite interesting.
And if I may add to that, I've actually realized that at times even the community members, when they come to our offices maybe to raise their complaints, maybe something has been done to them, okay, it might be a criminal offense, but at times they approach you and they tell you, Madam Wakili, mimi hata sitaki, I don't want to go to court, I don't want this and this. I just want this person to do what? To refund my money. And at times you find that they at times say that the court process is tedious and whatnot. So at times we really appreciate the prosecutors on the ground. We really appreciate, right now we don't lean towards the traditional prosecution so much. At least we are open-minded. We are willing to at least even settle. So yes, we appreciate for the prosecutors. And I believe the community also appreciates, because at times maybe justice, the traditional method, maybe people thought that for justice it was a conviction, but what do you get at the end of the day? Because at times maybe the complainant just wants their money back, or maybe they want an apology, as you've said. So at times for what is justice, at times for the community member, that particular person, it is for that apology. That apology is what means a lot to them. And maybe the refund of their money, because at times you find maybe it's on someone, you've sold some parcel of land to someone, but it just didn't go well, and the police take over, so you just want your money back instead of the tedious process. So it's something that I think most community members really appreciate.
But I think we need to, for clarity, Gertrude, we need to clarify that we are not saying that the alternative to justice is going back and agreeing. There are some offenses that cannot go through that at all.
Oh, definitely.
There's no way you can go and say, I raped and I'm sorry.
Yes. Maybe we can talk about defilement. Defilement is what we term rape of a person who is below 18 years old. Rape of a child. If you defile a child, as a parent, which is actually, it happens and it is wrong, the parent comes and says, Mimi sitaki kesi. And we always have to bring back the parent or the guardian or the caregiver to this crime was not committed against you. We have a child victim here. And this child has a right to talk, to express themselves, to speak, because it is painful. You see, as parents, sometimes we imagine that children don't feel pain, or we know what is best for them.
Ama watasahau.
But actually, studies have shown that adverse childhood experiences, like defilement, for example, or grievous assault or cruelty, affect a child's entire life. To the adulthood. Sometimes some behavior in adulthood might be linked to what happened to somebody as a child. So cases like defilement or even cruelty, they're not cases where, as a prosecutor, I'd be willing, just because you have said sorry, to withdraw that case.
Or just because you're an elder in the community.
Yes. In fact, social standing really is not a factor to consider when
it's not a defense.
Really no, it is not. Actually, it is not. It is not. Continue being a leader in your community, but if you have defiled a child, you have defiled a child. Let's follow due process. Yes. And also because children cannot consent. You see, a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 10-year-old cannot say, I wanted, even if they came and sat there and, you say they're seducing you, a child cannot consent. That is a child. And in a forum I attended, huko bara ya ndani sasa zaidi ya Nairobi, in a forum I attended, there's a man who said something that it struck a chord with me. And he was talking about defilement to the community. It was a baraza. And then he asked those people, umewahi ona ng'ombe ikipandilia ndama? Umewahi ona jogoo?
It's unnatural.
Jogoo ikifuata kifaranga. Umewahi ona mbuzi ikifuata mtoto wa mbuzi anaitwa aje kwa Kiswahili? A kid.
Mtoto wa mbuzi.
So what he was bringing out was, it is unnatural. You cannot say that you are attracted to a child. It does not happen in the animal kingdom. So for sure it should not happen to we human beings who have intellect and free will. So those are some of the things, even when we now bring back the conversation to community policing, to break down to the community. Don't do this because it is not natural. It is not normal. And it hurts children. Children get hurt by offenses. Have I answered the question?
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. So let's go back to the theme. Achieving social justice through formal employment. Unfortunately, this sounds like somebody came up with this theme without understanding our local context. Achieving employment, formal employment, is close to impossible in these parts of the world. So unemployment is a norm more than an exception, right? So what happens like on the ground with Haki? Let's say, just look at Mombasa now. The youth are unemployed. There are no jobs. They've gone to school, they've studied, they have their trade, but they're still not making it. So if, like we said earlier, the alternative, the easiest route is crime. So what do you do when you sit with them? When you're mentoring them, what do you tell them? Because you will not employ them.
Of course.
Yeah.
But in Mombasa, or rather the coast generally, actually unemployment even went lower with the SGR issue, as you know. Yeah, so unemployment is actually higher. It went higher.
Oh, it went higher. It went higher.
No, it went higher. Truck drivers lost their jobs, the tan boys lost their jobs, and these are people who are within the community. So things got, things went from bad to worse. So as an organization that actually deals with the youth in particular, we tried to intervene because, you know, the drug abuse, crime, everything went higher, and we tried to intervene. I know right now even the DPP was part of this program. There's a program where we decided to train a few youth. These are people that we considered at risk because of the unemployment and whatnot. We thought, what can we do? So we tried fundraising, got some few funds where we managed to train 10 groups of 10 each. So we trained them on business skills, entrepreneurship, how to come up with business plans. So they had their business plans. So we did this together with the Kenya Methodist University, where they were trained, and the ODPP actually graced the event where they graduated, and at least they acquired those skills. They graduated, and right now we have some small funding where we'll give them, monitor what they actually do with this money. And it's not, I wouldn't call it formal employment because people ni hustle. So ni biashara gani unafanya? What will you do just to sustain yourself? Because the mentality that people have of formal employment, just the white collar jobs, I think we need to deviate from this because
we actually are, because the world is moving now into gig economies. You one gig here, another gig there, you make your ends meet. So is that what you're telling them to do?
That is actually what I would encourage people to do, because even at times you find a university graduate, some with even their masters, they are unemployed. And if you really focus on the formal employment bit only, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. Even as an advocate, I also have some side hustle. You cannot solely depend on one income, definitely. So as Haki Africa, we've tried to talk to the youth just to sensitize them. You do not have to involve yourself in crime just to make ends meet. And it's very important on sensitization, because just as my colleague here was saying, sometimes people don't even know. You can't say that a child just sat there and seduced you. It's impossible. And some of these people, at times border riders, you have to sensitize them. Go down to the grassroots level.
So do you do that?
Yes, we actually do. And we do it together with the ODPP, the justice actors in general, probation team, children's department, the judiciary themselves. So we just go to the ground, just explain to them some of their rights, the do's and don'ts of the justice system.
Does it work?
So far, I'd say it has worked, but it's it's a process. It's a process because it also involves building trust. Because for the community, if you bring the justice actors, they had this perception that these are the enemies. These are the enemies. Why is Haki Africa bringing the enemies to us? So we have to change their mentality on that. So it's a long process, and I can give an example. When we were in Malindi, there's been some disputes between two communities. That's the Maweni and Shela community. So our very first forum where we were trying to mend this relationship. So we had a probation department, we had ODPP themselves were there, and then ourselves. And we were just trying to talk, and the police were also there, luckily.
Wow.
And it's very unfortunate that our very first interaction, chaos. There were chaos, and we were very lucky the police were there. They had to bring at least a Land Rover just to calm people down, and that is when we were able to actually. the issues that they have within their communities. At times it's the land disputes. This community blames this other community. And right now, if I tell you that the two communities, through the Court Users Committee in Kilifi County, they're able to sit down together. We do the garbage collection around the beach and whatnot, just to bring them together. These boys even play football together. So it's a process. It's a long shot. If you think of where we started before and where we are right now, I'd say it's baby steps, but we are moving. So it actually works. So
has community, this engagement in the community now, because you're looking at community as a very key actor in the justice system, has it worked when it comes to drug abuse in Mombasa? Do you work with the community to just sort of curb this vice?
Yes, you have to work with the community, because at times you find that some time back we had this perception that maskanis are a place where youth go and indulge in drug abuse, substance abuse, but maskani ni chuom. It's like base. So these maskanis were associated with just drug abuse and whatnot. And even from the 10 groups that we actually trained, you find that some of these people are maskani. And if you're able to sensitize one of the members from that maskani, they're able to talk to these other people. Just talk them out of this drug abuse and whatnot. There's more to life other than the substance abuse and whatnot. So at times you get just one youth and you're able to sensitize them, and they go and talk to these maskanis. There's one maskani in Nyali, I believe. Right now they meet at the maskani, but they don't chew the miraa that is well known at the coastal region, and mogoka. Right now they meet to discuss ideas. What are we going to do? We have this business, we want to move forward. Where are we going to get funds? Approach this organization, approach this person. So it's something that is working. The community embraces it. And something else I think we also need to talk about, when it comes to crime, and you look at this youth that are actually involved in crime, we also have to go back, because this is not something that just starts. I cannot just start stealing from you, see these phones, and I just pick everything. It starts from somewhere. And we have to go back to the family unit. We have to go back to the family unit.
That's important.
As parents, what are we doing?
So do you get to talk to parents?
Yes, we actually do. And women actually play a very major role, especially when it comes to the boy child and even the girl child. So just to talk to these women, sensitize them. Even when dealing with your children, how do you deal with the issues that they actually first raise? Even a class 4 child, there are signs that they exhibit. How do you deal with this? Who do you, in case you need advice from someone else, because at times it's a first-time parent, maybe myself, you don't even know how to address issues that your child brings forth. So it's very important for us to also look into that. And if we can get counselors, I know the social justice centers that we work with, they have counselors that just try to talk to the at times to the child, at times to the mother or father, and it's actually very, very, very important, because crime does not start at that particular. There's something that actually triggered. There's a trigger, and if we are able to address these triggers, like for we were talking about employment. Haki Africa did the trainings of the youth and whatnot, but that is just not even a quarter or an eighth of the population at the coastal region. So there is more that needs to be done, and I believe if we continue working together, we can do this. And I know there are agencies like the National Counterterrorism Center. Now this is for the terrorism angle. If you look at the terrorism angle, I know they have so much that they can do to involve the youth. Even the sports, the playing, the football thing, that we can take it just for granted, but it actually really helps in terms of the youth are engaged. There's something they think about, and even at the football pitch and whatnot, we have coaches that actually just talk to them on how to improve and whatnot.
You have a lot of work.
I know.
So what's the age group? Sorry, yes.
I want to anchor on quite a number of things she has said. The first one, I like the point you mentioned that you took the enemy to the people. Because for sure the prosecutor is seen as an enemy. What I want to say about that is 2 years ago, the ODPP began a mentorship program at Committee YCTC. And who are the mentors?
prosecutors.
We the enemy.
So please tell me, Gatwin. So when you walk into YCT and
YCTC.
YCTC,
Yes.
and these children or these youth, they what do they say? What do they?
The first time I walked in there, I locked eyes with a boy I was prosecuting for defilement. I saw a mixture of emotions on his face. Anger, shock, horror, like, what are you doing here?
And did you freeze?
It was awkward for me. Definitely it was awkward for me, because I was thinking, okay, we just had a session yesterday of me telling the court the things you've done, and then I am here today smiling at you. It was very
You want
awkward.
to mentor me?
Yes, it was very, very.
Yeah.
But then what was the bigger picture? What is the bigger picture? The mentorship program is still ongoing. The bigger picture is for these young men to understand we are not their enemy. That is number one, very critical. I'm not prosecuting you because I hate you. I'm not prosecuting you because I don't like you or because you come from a poor family. No, that is not what prosecutions is about. I'm prosecuting you because there's a crime that has been committed. Umefanya makosa. You know what our parents would say, si wewe na chapa ni makosa. You know, and with time, the boys began to understand that we are there to mentor them because they have offended, and we want them out of that system of always resorting to crime.
Yes. And it's a very important anchor on community prosecution.
Yes.
Is that you want to ensure that the crime does not keep recurring.
Yes,
The boy or the youth doesn't go back into the cycle.
Yes.
So has mentorship worked?
Yes, it has. And also anchoring on what my colleague has said. We went back, to try and talk to the boys. And we let them understand that we are not gathering information to use against you in court. It would, you see, there was the apprehension that nikikwambia, utaenda waambie jaji ito hapa kuna vile, magistrate is jaji ito. I came to learn. Jaji ito.
Slang.
Yes, the slang. You have to interact with them on that level. Yeah. So they understood that we're not gathering information to use against you. We want to correct what happened. And as she's very rightly put it, and thank you, the family unit. Because the kind of feedback we got was either there's an absent father, and really this goes out to men and fathers. Your children do need you desperately. And this is coming from the boy child. We're not talking about the girl anymore now. It is the boy. Absent fathers. We're talking about the broken families. We're talking about violence in the family. And all these things the child sees, doesn't know what to do. Or the child sees, or you're a father, you're a bandit, or you're a crook, and you bring in your children into these things. Or neglect. And simple things like neglect, like mama na baba walienda kukunywa wakatuacha bila kitu, niko na wenzangu. What do I do? So you go, if you know you're going to steal my phone and sell it for 1,000 bob and provide for your siblings, that's exactly what you do. So these are some of the things that have landed, that introduced these boys into crime, because they have to survive, their siblings have to survive, or they're tired of seeing violence in the house. You're tired of seeing either your mother beat up your father or your father beat up your mother. So what do you
Even you are beaten.
Yes, even you are beaten, you're kicked out. So what do? You decide, even me, I can beat you. And all that anger and all those emotions, they rise up and hit somebody. It's grievous harm. Now you don't have an eye. Imefikia prosecutor. Will I ignore in entirety that this boy or this child to tell parents the importance of having relationships with their children. Hizi si vitu za wazungu. Za TV. It is real. It is happening. The impact we have as adults on our children is profound. It is profound. Yes. So as a society, even as we do community prosecution, we go back to the family unit. Yes, not all families can be together, but how do you manage nonetheless?
There's a whole community. It doesn't have to be that together.
Yes, there's a need for men to be mentors to young boys, to teach them the ropes. There's a need for a woman to take her place in the society. You know, don't abandon, don't neglect your children, because it leads them to crime. It leads them to drug abuse. It leads them into gangs, because that is where they feel accepted. And rejection from the family is also another very, very big thing that has landed so many young people within the criminal institutions, because they're accepted in a gang. I mean,
there's acceptance. There's belonging.
Yes, there's belonging. They have a sense of belonging. And it takes so little to hook a child. You know, come if I'm a girl and all I really wanted was nice hair, I mean, and I'm a crook, I will give you the nice hair. What will you give me in exchange? You know, if there's lack of parental love, there's lack of guidance, there's lack of care, there's neglect, we will have people going back into crime. Yes. So also within the mentorship, what we are trying to do is to equip these boys with both technical skills and social skills to interact. You know, coming from a slum does not mean that you're not respectful. There's the mentality we have, bora ametoka slum, kuna vile ako. But you'll be surprised. This boy who comes from the hood, the way they will talk to you is so decent, is so respectful that you would want to listen. So we need to have a mind shift also about how people in the hood are. You know, we need to have a serious mind shift and stop labeling that ametoka Kibera. So juu ametoka Kibera kuna
lazima kwe hivi.
Yes, ama lazima ni mwizi. You know, we have that automatic, ama ni wa Kayole. Sasa huyo ni
has expectation already.
You know, we need to stop labeling and to give these young people an opportunity to thrive. Why am I talking about an opportunity to thrive? Also anchoring on what she has said. When you see there are so many car washes in Nairobi, so I got curious to know, where do you get your stuff from? Like, you have so many people, ukifika gari inachangamkiwa mbio mbio, they wash. And one of them was kind enough to tell me that some of these have been rehabilitated. Yes, either from the prison system or from remand. Yes. And so that they can have a livelihood, wamekuja kuosha magari. So they're trained on how to do it. They will do it well. And they earn their living. They earn their living. So you don't need to be employed in an office somewhere.
Suited up and in a desk.
Suited up, you know, behind a desk and a swiveling chair for you to earn a decent living. It's not about that. It is about, as long as this person can cater for their needs, there are crimes which will be avoided. Crimes for survival will be avoided. Yes. When
the DPP was at Kemo for the graduation, when he talked about community prosecution, he said that the ODPP has plea bargain and diversion.
Yes.
That really they use it, especially for this age group, so that they don't go through the system. So one is acknowledging that the system can get so congested.
Oh yes, it is.
And these two things, these two policies, these two policies, they actually help decongest the system. Yes. So just an overview of how plea bargain and diversion does that. How do they work?
Okay, let me begin with diversion. Diversion is what we call an alternative to prosecution, to the criminal justice trial. And what diversion does is literally what the word means. It diverts you away from the criminal justice trial into an alternative where you as an offender agree that you have committed an offense, and in exchange for you agreeing that yes, you have committed an offense, we do not prosecute you, but we agree together as the prosecutor, as the offender, and we also involve the victim on how to go about compensation or retribution for you.
So I have to accept.
Yes, accepting is one of, because you will not benefit from diversion if you do not accept that what you've done is wrong. And we have to look at the offender's attitude towards the offense.
You have to show remorse.
Yes, remorse. And we also have to look at the circumstances. For example, the case I've just given you, we have quite a number of cases where children will steal. But when you look at why they are stealing, other issues, bigger issues, monstrous issues crop up. I'll give an example of a case I handled where a child was brought before court for having stolen 3,000 shillings. So I look at him, he was 12 years old. I'm like, you're so young. Yes, you're so young. And I was very curious. Why have you stolen 3,000 shillings? So I wanted to talk to him. So the first question we usually ask is, do you know who your advocate is? And the boy stared straight ahead, no eye contact. So I tapped him. I called him by his name. Straight ahead, no eye contact, nothing. So I really tried to talk to him. Is something wrong? So I saw him tearing up. And the one thing he told me that shook me was, I would rather die. Mimi nataka kukufa. A 12-year-old told me they want to die. So I was taken aback. I was like, okay, what's happening? So I look around and I ask who is in the courtroom. So I was told so-and-so is here, so-and-so, part of his guardians are there, the investigating officer is there, the advocate was coming. So I wanted to inquire, why is this boy saying he wants to die? I tried to, he's not talking. But then I asked him, did you steal? He's like, mimi sijaiba, lakini heri nikufe, kushinda nikubali nimeiba.
Okay.
So what happened eventually was when we got down into having reports submitted, because when a child tells you they want to die, oh, that's big.
Yeah, that's really big.
That's really, they have thought about it. And children don't issue empty threats from what I've come to learn. We later on realized he lives in a very, very abusive household, extremely abusive, with a relative who does drugs and substance abuse, serious ones. He is assaulted himself. So he was like, nimewekelewa nimeiba juu hawanitaki. In fact, it actually came out. When we went back to have probation reports done and a children officer's report done and the home environment looked at, it came out that these people don't want me there because they can't handle me, because they have so much pressure. So they just want me out. And the easiest way is, mutwaya ameiba. You know. So it took all these agencies to bring out the unique circumstances of this boy. And he stuck to his guns that, yes, I have not stolen. And what he even revealed later was, nilikuwa naiba, niliiba 200. He itemized, niliiba 200, nikaiba hii, lakini nilikuwa nasikia njaa. Wakipika hawanipei food. Nani anakuja kama amelewa, anakula chakula yote. Those are the circumstances. So we transitioned this boy. We were able to transition him into a place of safety for him. And we're in the process of seeing how to reintegrate him now with his immediate family. He was living in an extended family. Yes. Yeah. So diversion, that is the end result of diversion, to be able to rehabilitate both the offender and to see how to bring about a community kind of reintegration. So diversion will divert you away from the system. What I need to mention, there are offenses in which we cannot divert. And we talked about the defilement. Yes. For defilement, where it is a crime of violence, we will not divert. For example, a 17-year-old defiles a year-old. Really? Yeah. We are not having a conversation. But there's what we are now beginning to call the Romeo and Juliet case. The Romeo and Juliet is where a girl is 17, a boy is 17, or 18, 17, 17 and 16. They're close in age. So quote unquote, there's the element of consent. And I put it quote unquote because children cannot consent. There's the element of consent. So we began asking ourselves, both of you agreed to do this. So why is the boy taking the blame?
Or the girl gets pregnant and she now carries the whole burden and the boy walks scot-free.
Yes.
Okay.
You see, so in such cases we divert because these are children who need more guidance, more care, more attention than being put in committee, YCTC, or being put in Kamaya Girls. What will it do? They have their whole lives ahead of them. So diversion not only gives you a second chance, you avoid a criminal record. And this is also for the adults. You know, kama umeiba, wewe ni mwizi, and you're able to agree, ndio nimeiba, you're able to return. Avoid a criminal record. You know, avoid a criminal record. Because utaenda utafute good conduct. Utaenda utafute good conduct. Yeah. So diversion gets you away from the system. Now, plea bargaining. What is plea bargaining? Plea bargaining is also an alternative to prosecution, where as an offender, I agree to plead guilty, either to a lesser offense or to the offense I have committed in exchange for certain considerations by the prosecution and by the court. For example, in some, not all, in some murder cases, where an accused person can plead guilty of manslaughter, you've saved us a lot of time in terms of prosecution. You've saved the court a lot of time. You've saved a lot of resources for the courts, the prosecutor, the probation office, the investigator. We have now channeled our resources elsewhere. So in exchange for that, you can be given either a lighter sentence, or in other offenses, maybe a non-custodial sentence, like a probationary sentence, or even a community service order. Ile ya kwenda kufagia
mtaa.
Ya kufagia mtaa, you know, so that you show the community that ndio nimekubali makosa, na kwa sababu nimekubali, nihurumieni. Basically, that was what plea bargaining is. Nihurumieni. Yes, punish me, but lessen the punishment. Be kind to me. Yes. It is not automatic that punishment will be as kind as you might want it. Because remember, we have a victim. We should never lose sight of the victim. Yes. Because the victim can live with this scar for the rest of their life. Yes. Yes. Yeah,
quite interesting.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, just looking at the community angle, I think I had mentioned it before. The community actually appreciates what the DPP has put in place, because you know, now this is like mediation for criminal cases. When you look at diversion, because I know we have some cases where even the accused person, the family members approach our office and they say, the case I was telling you about, they say, we are willing to pay this person. And this complainant, this victim is actually willing to take the money. So why don't we just pay him? And I tell them, right now, this case is actually in court. And the courts are the ones to determine, have you talked to the prosecutor in charge of this case? Have you talked? Oh, Madam Wakili tusaidie. And you step in, and I know the prosecutors, just as I said, at least this is something that is working for the community members, and it's something that I believe communities should actually embrace this, embrace diversion. I know we've diverted almost 5 cases. I have assisted in diverting almost 5 cases, and I think all went well. All went well. And if communities actually embrace this diversion and plea bargaining, I think we'll go really far.
Yeah, the system will be less congested.
Less congested, indeed. Yeah.
Maybe what I need to add about diversion and plea bargaining is the question is, why is the prosecutor being involved? Si mnaweza fanya nyumbani. You know, why are we coming on board? And we need to ensure transparency, number one. We need to ensure that justice has been done to both parties. We need to ensure fairness and justice has been done. And in both diversion and plea bargaining, there's a set of, I don't want to call them, there are rules that guide the process.
Guidelines.
Yes, there are guidelines that guide the process. So if I am diverting, what happens if you are supposed to pay me
and you don't,
and then you unaniruka kipetero kiesu? What happens? What happens? So where the prosecutor comes in is that the diversion policy allows us to mitigate some of those issues that might arise when a diversion doesn't sail through as it should. And then for transparency purposes, you know, it's not a secret. Yes, it is not a secret. So to ensure
it's not done behind closed doors.
It is not done behind closed doors. In fact, there's an agreement for both diversion and plea bargaining. There's an agreement between all the parties that this is what we agree to do. And then also something I should mention about diversion, we look at an offender's history. Haitakuwa mazoea, and then every other time you're coming back, nitarudisha. No, we will have to look at an offender's history and the offender's attitude. So for somebody to also benefit from diversion, they need to be alive to the fact that I cannot keep offending because I know there is diversion. Yes.
Hawezi kwa sugu.
Hawezi kwa sugu, no. Sugu now we will now deal with you in the traditional prosecutorial way.
Mashtaka yenye haki na usawa.
Haki na usawa. Lazima haki itendeke. Na kukue na usawa, you know, because you know you cannot give 20 years to somebody who has stolen a chicken because they were hungry, and the same 20 years to somebody who has, I don't know, you talked about somebody who ripped off millions. You see, haki na usawa, where's the balance? It has to be a balance.
Okay, I want to just look at some comments on Facebook. Juliet Mudhura says it's very informative. And then there's somebody here called Longton Jamil. I think anasema unamjua. Amekumulika. Amesema the lady in black and white knows me very well. He's camped at the offices. I think he has a complaint that needs to be dealt with. He says a 13-year-old girl was defiled by a 23-year-old man in Kajiado, and the magistrate dismissed the case saying they are all underage. It was aired on Citizen TV, but no action from your office. Should there be action from your office?
Should there be action?
Yeah.
Yes, there should be, because that was a prosecution that was taking place.
Yes.
If it is Kajiado, we have a very responsive office. What they can do is they can side chat and forward the details. We'll forward them to our Kajiado office to be able to deal with them. And maybe also look at what happened, what exactly happened.
Yeah.
Yes, and yes, I know Longton. I used to be in the complaints division.
All right. Okay.
Yes, I used to serve in the complaints division.
Yeah.
So yes, he's come to our office severally. I since left the division, but the division is still active.
Yes.
He's still welcome to come.
Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe we'll get
his complaint can be addressed.
So Longton Jamil will pick it up again and see where the process reached.
Yes.
So that it can be resolved.
Yes. I'm aware his complaint even went to IPOA at a point. So yeah. We'll be able to address.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just remember the case again. I think one of those forwards on social media. A teacher writes to the parent and says, I have really, I like your daughter. She was my student. And now that she has turned 18, sasa nataka kumoa. And there was an uproar saying, how dare you? It means that all this time this child was under your care. Ulikuwa na mafikira tofauti. What do you do to such a person?
Well, the Sexual Offences Act talks about people in positions of responsibility and power. When we entrust our children to teachers, we take them there to be taught, not to be pried upon. As it is, if no crime has been committed, if he has not inappropriately talked with this child or displayed inappropriate or pornographic material to this child or groomed this child. There's something called grooming that is now coming up. Yes, if he's not groomed this child or had any kind of communication or even caused this child to be in need of care and protection. You see, you don't have to touch, but there's a way you can conduct yourself in that this child needs to be taken away from you as a teacher. If he hasn't done that, kudos. But if he has,
and he has a case to answer.
People with positions of authority need to know they have a very big responsibility in taking care and guarding children. Yes, that is what I would say. And not just teachers, even in the church, even in social places. You know, you remember the case where a child went to Java and something happened and there was an uproar and the case actually went to court. Those are people in positions, and children are vulnerable. We are supposed to take care of them and protect them, not to pry upon them. That is why we have that offense of causing a child to be in need of care and protection, and it lists almost 20 scenarios where you'll cause a child to be in need of care and protection.
Okay, so the law is very clear.
The law is absolutely clear, abundantly
it's
clear.
Very interesting to say that. When I say that, I laugh because it's become cliche. Like the law is very clear.
It is the application. Hapo ndio tunakaza sasa. Yes.
I wanted to ask about your mentorship program. What is the age group?
I know for the mentorship, we don't really control the number as long as you're a youth from in Kenya it's 18 to 35. Yes, but if you look at the youth that we've trained, I think most of them are under 30. From the group that we've trained so far right now, most of them are under 30 because as you hear, we targeted specific people because we don't want to train just youth. Maybe myself.
How did you select? Did you put out a notice?
No. We actually have the social justice centers. These are grassroots organizations. These are people that know these people at the maskanis, as I say. So we use the social justice centers in the coastal region in Mombasa, just to identify this youth, these people at the grassroots, because these are people they work with at times. Sometimes we'll just meet them at the maskanis, try talk to them, because as I said before, these grassroots organizations, they're not like these NGOs. These people operate informally. So you find them at the maskanis just trying to talk to these people, try to win a few hearts, just so they know these people, they know this group. So they're the people who identified some of these people, and they identified the people that were really at need of this training. The youth that were in need of this training, need of this training, in need of the skills and whatnots, people that were about to fall over to this other side, the criminal side and whatnot. So, and if you look at these people, they're from 18 to 30 maximum, 30 maximum, yes.
Like I keep saying, you have a lot of work.
We do. And something else I actually forgot to mention is that even when working in the social justice centers, we try to encourage this very same youth. I know the Mombasa social justice centers, Kisauni, they encourage youth to even use art.
Okay.
Yes, youths, they encourage youth to use art in terms of preventing crime and whatnot. So if you even go to the center, the DPP actually launched this center, and if you go to the center, just outside we have walls that have calligraphy, sending messages of peace and whatnot. And this is in Kisauni, somewhere where people call the hotbeds, the Kiberas of Nairobi, the Kayoles of Nairobi. Kisauni is a hotspot. So the use of art just to disseminate messages of peace and whatnot. So it's something that it's a lot of work, but it's just baby steps. As long as the community is willing to work with us, we've earned their trust right now, and we're trying to make them also. We're trying to make the justice actors also earn trust of the members of the community, and that's where the DPP comes in. And if we're able to actually have the community trust the justice actors, this will be a plus for us. So the training, the sensitization meetings that we normally have, the legal aid clinics that we do at the grassroots levels, I think all these play a major role.
Okay.
Yes.
I've just lost something. Oh, somebody here on YouTube has asked. It's called Joseph Adome. Is there a difference between community prosecution and diversion? There is.
Yes, there is.
Yes.
Let me underscore. Diversion is an alternative to prosecution.
Yes.
Where we have the parties who are already involved in a case.
Yeah.
We have an accused person.
Yeah.
We have a victim. We have the prosecutor. We have the court. So in diversion as a process, we involve all the parties.
Yes.
So that to see how to transition out of the criminal justice system.
Yes.
Community policing is how
community prosecution.
Prosecution.
Yeah.
Yeah. Community prosecution, thank you.
Yeah.
Is how we will involve the community in the process of prosecution, either to prevent crime by addressing the root causes of crime, or to see how to address the crime after it has already occurred.
And reintegration.
Yeah. So when we are talking about community prosecution, now this is what we are saying. Tell us, why are people committing crime? So that Haki can come and see how to address that.
Or why is this crime prevalent in this community?
Yeah.
Yes. Why, if it is drug and substance abuse, where is that drug and substance abuse coming from?
Yes.
Remember, as a prosecutor, I'm not an investigator.
No.
But I'll rely on you in the community to shed some information. Or even when it comes to offender attitudes. This offender, as a community, what do you think he's remorseful? Or what do you feel is the impact of his crime to you as a community? Yeah, that is maybe the difference between community prosecution and diversion.
Yes, and I feel like explaining it because I come from the corporate side. So
please.
Corporate social responsibility in the corporate sector is now what you're calling community prosecution in the public sector. Yes. Sasa ukiona mtu ameenda kudonate maji na kupeleka sijui what food in an area as a community social responsibility act. So when you see Gertrude going to committee YCTC to speak to the youth, then she's actually doing community. It's social responsibility. It's just giving back to the community.
And even empowering. More beyond that, just empowering. And maybe what also the DPP has done within the anti-FGM unit, we have a lot of community dialogue happening within the hotspots. Just December, after we launched the guidelines, the anti-FGM standard operating procedure guidelines, we have been able to disseminate it to at least 4 hotspot counties as at now. And we call in the people who've performed FGM. And we have reformed cutters who come to say, yes, I used to cut, but stop. Because at least they reach out. And when the community sees the prosecution is here, a reformed cutter is here, the national government administration is here, it sends a message that you can earn a living in another way. You don't have to cut girls. You know, it sends a message. It's dangerous for these girls to be cut. Stop cutting them. You know, give them an alternative rite of passage. And also, every year when we mark the Day of the African Child, in fact, the CSR was a baby of the Day of the African Child when COVID struck and we really couldn't go anywhere. So the theme for that year sent us to YCTC, and it is blossoming. It is beautiful. I'd also want to say last year something beautiful that happened when we went to Kakuma in Turkana County. We're able to have a meeting with the host community who are the Turkana and with the refugee community who are in Kakuma. And there are so many discussions about polisi wanatuonea kwa sababu sisi ni refugees. The host community like polisi hawatusikizi kwa sababu wanaona refugees wako na pesa. And this is a dialogue that was necessary. It needed to happen so that watu wasikizane, so that they understand we are here to serve all of you, whether you're a refugee or you belong to the host community. And part of the initiatives even the civil society is doing, like World Vision and the other organizations, Refugee Consortium of Kenya, on the ground is reintegrating the host and the refugee community so that they live in peace. Yes. So that mimi kama refugee, if I'm running a shop, wewe kama host community utakuja ununue maziwa kwangu. You know, to promote peace so that also crime doesn't escalate. You know, the tensions that come up with having very many communities in one place, it doesn't escalate. So I think
I think for me community prosecution is quite exciting.
It is,
think about it.
It
gets you out of your office
and
takes you into the community.
To understand real issues.
So when somebody says kazi yako tu ni kuenda prosecute, then it's very easy to tell them there's more you can do about crime, just not prosecuting. And I hope it actually catches.
It does. What she said about art, yesterday we had a session at YCTC, and some of these boys, they're very good inaitwa rap ama inaitwa ni gengeton. And one was able to have a rap about nimereform. And then they were singing about it, and I was able to capture that. From his lyrics, he says, yes, I have done wrong. Yes, the cops are on my case, but nimereform. Form nimereform. Huyo atakuja imbe mwenyewe.
You should look for them.
But yes, it is working because through that art they're able to express that yes, I have done wrong, but nimereform. Like the catchphrase was nimereform. Lazima to reform. Form ni kureform. You see? So yes, it is working. Now imagine having that boy in the heart of where he came from, telling other boys, reform ni kureform. Is it not working?
It works.
There's someone called Caro Kaya. Thanks, Caro, even for following us on Facebook. They're asking, I'm interested in understanding how the reintegration process is done through the community prosecution and how effective it has been. Maybe that is now for you, Haki. Have you had youth who have gone through the system and they've come out and they are like, me reform? What do you do to them? How do you reintegrate them back into the society?
And this is where Haki Africa, I'd say that because we have a department, the probation department is actually key when it comes to reintegration, if I may say.
A probation department at Haki or within government?
Probation department within government. Yes, the probation department. And you see the program that we actually work with, we work on, because at times we find some of these people, they've already served a term in prison, and they come to Haki Africa. At times they ask for jobs and whatnot, and you see, at times our hands are tied, but there's a specific department that can help with the reintegration and whatnots, because at times you find that what Haki can do is maybe call the chief of that area, tell them this person is good, so and so, try and involve them with the social justice centers, but that is just a small fraction of what is supposed to be done. That the probation department knows of what they're supposed to do. I know in Mombasa, the Mombasa County Probation Department, they even have a section in their office where we see they build desks and whatnots, and the probation department helps them sell some of these things. So just to show the community members that these people are actually reformed, please kindly take them back. And we have trained probation officers we've trained probation officers. Mother tongue has to
I know.
at times. But we've trained probation officers just for them to be able to segregate data when it comes to at times even at-risk individuals. Just identify some of these people they've come from prison. Is it safe for them to go back to their homes? And if it's not, what are you supposed to do with them? Because some of us, we've not been trained on this, and these are people that have been particularly categorically trained on that. So we train them on that. We train them on human rights-based approaches to PCVE and whatnot, because at times preventing and countering violent extremism. So at times you find that issues to do with access to justice. I'll deviate. This should actually be a topic for another day. But we train them on that, and also they now have a database where they're able to segregate data of people that are at risk, youth that need help, and whatnot. So we are hopeful that it will actually work. Are
you doing anything with the community in light of the upcoming elections?
Yes, we are. We have a project where we actually conduct civic education, just to talk to members of the community on their rights to vote, first of all, and also just encourage them to maintain peace, and also just to have sober minds when electing leaders.
So, are they listening?
Yes, majority are listening, because we are doing this together with at times we have IEBC, and when we had the voter registration still ongoing, we had the activity was ongoing, and we had someone from IEBC also just registering the youth and whatnot, and we had a few numbers recorded. And we've also been training women political aspirants just on how to conduct themselves even once they go there, because at times rumors have it when you're at the grassroots levels, when you're at the ground, you say you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, but once you get this time we targeted women. This time round,
not for any party, just a target.
This time round we targeted.
I thought a lot of
this particular, this particular project, we actually decided to target women just to sensitize them on how they're going to behave, just to empower their fellow women once they get into the positions of power.
Watutetea wakifika.
Msisahau boy child. Hatutasahau boy child. Right now, the boy child also really needs to be empowered.
Yes. And I hope that as we speak to people about elections, the community especially, then you can relate, you can make things relatable. Like I saw the hashtag for lower food prices that has been trending, and people forget that everything is solved at the ballot. The community must know that for whatever thing they want done, it starts from the ballot. And we miss the point. Then now we start hashtagging, thinking it's going to work. So I think it's and the DPP has also been on record saying the end, stopping corruption starts at the ballot. And we are seeing many of them now just vying. So the community must be made aware. And that is where I think maybe we need to redefine this community prosecution, because it's a struggle, the concept. But we need to maybe just still apply this community prosecution concept at this time when you're going into election, and of course going forward as we do other things. There's some more comments on Facebook. Does community prosecution take note of witness protection? In most cases, the community members are not willing to serve as witnesses due to threats by the suspects and suspect families. So maybe as you go and speak to the community, then now you tell them what it means to be a witness, what's expected of them, right?
Yes.
And what the law says about their protection.
Yes. Usually, before every case, or even at the investigation stage, a witness needs to know what they're bringing, what is their contribution, and why are they even coming to testify. So there's something we call pre-trial. It can either we usually do it before we even go to court. We prepare a witness, what to expect, who will you meet in court, how do you testify. We're not coaching you, just how do you address the court. We don't want you to be thrown into contempt. Yes. So when witnesses are threatened, and yes, witnesses are usually threatened, we usually recommend, there's a twofold approach. One, if you're threatened, report as quickly as possible. Have an OB. Have an OB that you've been threatened. And two, we work closely with the Witness Protection Agency. So the agency will come and assess the level of threat. Now, what usually happens, sometimes there are people who don't cooperate. If there's a very, very grave threat to your life and the Witness Protection Agency tells you, we need to relocate you, you refuse to be relocated. you're not cooperating.
Yes.
Yes. So we do work with the Witness Protection Agency, and also there are threats which do not need to escalate to the agency, especially if there are threats that the court can address either through denying bail. You know, yes, you have a right to bail, but it's not absolute. So if we know you're threatening a witness or you're stalking a witness, for example, we approach the court with evidence, of course, that this person is doing ABC, and the court can decide to change your bail terms, you know, or give you limits. Like, we have instances where an accused person's family has to relocate because you'll not, remember, you won't always inconvenience the victim because of an accused person, the rights of the victim.
Yes.
So you have there are many ways.
We must set aside a day to discuss the rights of the victim.
Yes. Oh yes, we should. We should. So there are many ways to address threats to a witness. But remember, the witness themselves have to come and speak and say, I'm being threatened by so and so, and this is what they're threatening to do. And we don't take those threats lightly, for sure.
So just finally, as you're winding up, Julius Njireni, and I know he's been on our comments always talking about forensic evidence. So he says, when do you engage forensic evidence during the trial, which is more accurate than testimonial evidence, and which modality do you use when procuring it in line with the country? There's DOBAT standard. I don't know what that is. But I guess he just wants to understand forensic evidence, and very briefly, because you're running out of time. I will very briefly talk about forensic evidence. We have forensic evidence, which is there's a different nature of forensic evidence. There's the biological forensic evidence, you know, the blood samples, the semen samples, the swabs and whatnot. At what point do we adduce them in trial? We use forensic evidence to support a case. For example, in a case of defilement, where a victim has come to say, let me use a boy this time. Yes, boys do get defiled. They do get defiled. Increasing, actually.
Increasing, yes. A case of, we call it sodomy, but it's still defilement. A boy is sodomized. He goes to report. He goes to the hospital. They will take a swab, an anal swab, and send it to the government analyst to analyze in comparison with the DNA of the offender, the accused. So once the boy has testified and the doctor has testified, we bring in this evidence to support what they have said, that yes, indeed, the DNA found in the anal swab of boy XY matches the DNA profile of the accused person. So we use it as supporting evidence. Usually, for the story to flow, because prosecution is an art and it is a story you're telling, we bring it after the people have already testified. We also have digital forensic evidence, where in cases of maybe cybercrime or pornography cases, you know, the child pornography cases and such cases, after the evidence has been given in chief, that is what he's calling the oral evidence. Now we bring in this evidence to support that these offending images or these transactions took place on this platform. For instance, if I'll be dealing with child pornography, for instance, if it is pornography that was downloaded using your Facebook to your Note 10, for instance, we'll be able to link that using your Note 10.
A Note 10.
I am manifesting a Note 20 in Jesus' name. So we're able to link that using your Facebook account and this ISP provided to you either by Safaricom or Zuku or Telcom or whatever. You downloaded this offending image of this child which you took at this and this place. So we bring in that evidence to support. Remember, we might have had a child witness who came to say, alinishika, akanipeleka kwa nyumba, akanitoa nguo, akaniambia nikae hivi, akanipiga picha. So it comes in to support. It comes in. And I must add that this forensic evidence is produced by an expert. It is the expert in the field who will come to explain how they got that evidence. For me as a prosecutor, I guide the expert in how to adduce evidence.
I think I'm also inspired to just have a show about evidentiary test.
Yes.
And to speak about this, because it's quite contentious about what you can adduce as evidence. and how you do it.
Yes, there are rules to admissibility and how you obtain that evidence. Yeah.
All right. I think I've said we're winding up so many times, but you're actually winding up. Just want to shout out to Rosaline Aliaka. She says she's watching from Kimilili. Thank you. Longton Jamil, we are going to follow through to see how far this case went. Nathaniel Kamau, we've also seen your comment. We're going to follow through with this. And I feel like I need to speak to Mukabana from, I think she said she's watching from Canada. And we noted your case, I think last week, and it is being looked at. We are going to get in touch with you. That's our promise. And of course, I want to just thank everyone who's been watching. I know we can't read everything. You can just sample comments. You know, the way you say, just sample comments and move on. But just keep engaging. You'll get responses as we go. And thank you so much again for being with us during this show. And for your comments as well. So, ladies, I want to thank you.
Thank you.
I've seen somebody saying I lost the comment. Somebody says very elaborate explanations, and they are quite grateful. And I don't know whether this is also a form of community engaged prosecution. Yes, because we are trying to get the community to understand the law.
Yes.
So that they know what to do when they're in contact or in conflict with the law. Or sometimes somebody will come to you for advice, mtoto wangu amefanya, tufanye nini? And you'll have heard maybe from the show that there's diversion. Then now you follow through and see what you can do about it. There's plea bargaining, there's diversion.
Kuna kukubali makosa.
Kuna kukubali pia na kusema sorry. Sindio? Alafu wakuna, there are people like Haki Africa who actually have social justice centers. If you need advice, if you need some direction, you can go to them and get your advice, as you need it. I hope I got it right.
You did.
Yeah, so thank you so much once again, and I definitely will invite you again. There's so much we can talk about. I think a lot of things came up that we need to still talk about, and the show is just 1 hour. And you know, when you start, you think an hour is too long, and then it just runs out so fast. But thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
All right, so I want to thank you everyone who's been with us on the show. It's been an hour of interesting discussion about a concept called community prosecution, and like I tried explaining earlier, from the corporate side, we called it CSR. It is investing in education, in water. You must have a pillar. I think for most corporates, they have pillars that they anchor on for their corporate social responsibility. So you'll see banks are doing education, you'll see other organizations are doing health, others are doing water. So it depends on what your organization believes in. So for the organizations we've had on the show today, it's about the criminal justice sector. So it is, they get out of their comfort zone, they get out of their offices, out of their core duty to go back to the community and train them and sensitize them about how they work and how the criminal justice system works. Your role as a citizen, the role of the community at large in making the justice system, first of all, understood, and then enhancing access to justice, and of course, administering justice. I think I've become a lawyer. Administering justice.
Welcome to the profession.
Yes, but that's the essence of it. We must give back to the community at whatever level we are. And we're saying the ODPP is doing this by going back to mentor the youth. Haki is doing this with the youth in Mombasa, and now they're expanding to other areas. And you as a community, you're called upon to also participate in this criminal justice sector, because you are also an actor. You also are responsible for what goes on in your community. So thank you once again. I can speak about this for days because I found the concept very interesting. But of course, you can find another day to discuss it. I want to wish you a very good weekend ahead, and let's catch up again in the week to come. God bless. Thank you so much. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.